What's going on, everybody? GoodMicWork commentaries back at you. Welcome to episode 517. This episode is just going to be kind of a laid-back, casual chit-chat about some of the things we saw take place in wrestling this week, a few of the more notable moments from Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live. I'm also going to touch on some other wrestling news, including some Hulk Hogan and Shawn Michaels rumors, some news and notes on Survivor Series and the Mae Young Classic, and that's pretty much it. I expect this episode to be relatively short. I've already been up here once this week. I came up on Tuesday for a one-off episode discussing the whole Brie Bella and Liv Morgan situation from Monday Night Raw. So if you would like to hear my thoughts on that fucking debacle, the link is right up there in the top right-hand corner. But as far as this episode goes, yeah, we're just going to kind of get in and out of here. I thought there was definitely enough going on Raw and SmackDown for me to come up and do an episode, but I want to make this relatively short because I've got a lot of other projects in the works in the next few weeks. And just to give you an idea what my schedule is going to be like this coming up week, I will be up here this coming Monday, of course, as usual, for my Monday Night Raw watch along. And then on Wednesday, October 3rd, there will be a brand new This Day in History uploaded to the channel. And probably the very next day, on Thursday, is when I'll come up here and give you guys a quick Super Showdown prediction video, because that show is going to air super early in the morning, I think on Saturday. So I got to try to get my predictions up quickly. So you're going to have a lot going on. You'll have me live on Monday, This Day in History on Wednesday, and of course, Super Showdown predictions on Thursday. So keep that in mind. Also, please subscribe if you have not yet already. We are eyeballing that 25,000 YouTuber subscriber milestone, so I would love to get there if we could in the next couple of months. And also, like this video. In the past few videos that I've asked you guys for likes, you've hooked me up. So let's try to get at least 200 likes on this video, and it would be very, very much appreciated. So let's dive in now to what we're going to get into tonight. I'm going to talk a little bit about Monday Night Raw. Of course, I was up here on Monday, live streaming and watching the show with all of you. Just a few things I want to discuss. Number one, The Shield. We've all been talking about the Dean Ambrose heel turn for a while. We have been smelling it. Dean Ambrose really has never been a heel since he was in The Shield before. He's been a babyface now for 4 or close to 5 years, and it's probably time to turn him. Seth turned the first time. We know Roman's never going to turn. So the fans can kind of feel that when The Shield finally does disband or break up again, it's going to have to be Ambrose to be the one to turn. And now that WWE, I guess, realizes that the fans can see that, they're now trying to get a head start on the whole thing. And so what they did on Monday night is they had The Shield open up Raw with a promo, and then Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre, and Braun Strowman came out on the stage and started basically talking shit to The Shield and trying to get inside of Dean Ambrose's head. And it did kind of look weird with Ambrose standing there in between Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, who both have title belts, and he's standing there with nothing, although they're not doing the same thing with Strowman. On the other side, he doesn't have a belt either. But Dolph, Drew, and Strowman are trying to turn Ambrose and trying to get him to abandon The Shield and say, hey, they take you for granted, they don't give a shit about you, come join us where you'll be protected, we will truly have your back. And the whole thing is kind of like ridiculous, because you would think that in storyline that Dean Ambrose would never go for this. I mean, he's been Shield since day one. He's not going to let 3 guys who he's just feuded with, persuade him to join the other side. I guess Evolution technically did that with Seth Rollins after their long feud, and then the night after they lost for like the 3rd time to The Shield, Seth Rollins winds up turning and joining Triple H. So I'm not saying it can't be done, but when Seth Rollins turned, it came out of nowhere. It's not like Seth was being persuaded week after week by Triple H to finally make the decision. So this whole thing seems silly to me, and I wouldn't think, my head does not think the character Dean Ambrose would go for this. I still think Dean Ambrose could turn heel down the road. I expect him to. I think he should. I think Dean Ambrose should be a heel. Give him a try as a heel. Hasn't been one in many years. I think he could make a great one. He's very crazy. He's very sadistic, and we've seen, heel tendencies from him before, and we've all said to ourselves, man, this guy would probably make a pretty badass heel and a pretty vicious heel to boot. So I would like to see Ambrose get his chance at that. But what I would not like to see is Ambrose turn on the Shield and join Dolph, Drew, and Strowman, a faction that already kind of seems thrown together and is not going to have that long of a shelf life to begin with. Ambrose joining up with them wouldn't make any sense. So I think maybe this is just an early tease and they hold off the Dean Ambrose heel turn for a while, and then it comes out of nowhere again right after the fans have given up on it. Because as we saw on Monday Night Raw, Dean Ambrose wound up staying with the Shield. There was a 6-man match in the main event. It was not a match between Strowman, Dolph, and Drew. It was a match between Baron Corbin and 2 partners of his choosing. And throughout the night, we were trying to guess who the partners were going to be. And I think I said right away, I'm like, man, it should be the Authors of Pain. And I said at the beginning of the show, I'm like, the longer we go throughout the show here and we don't see an Authors of Pain squash match, you know it's going to be them. And they took on the Shield, and it was kind of cool to see the Authors of Pain in there with the Shield, because we have all speculated on the possibility or pitched the idea in recent months of maybe the Authors of Pain joining up with Roman Reigns if they ever wanted to turn Roman heel and have a couple of guys watching his back. They match in appearance and size and ring attire and all that. They would make a perfect kind of heel faction. So to see those guys in there rubbing it up in the main event with the Shield, that's great. That's great for the Authors of Pain to be on that stage, be in the main event of Monday Night Raw when they weren't doing jack shit prior to Drake Maverick joining the group. So it was a pretty good match, but it was nothing great. It was really just used to further the angle with the Shield and Dean Ambrose. And oh my God, is Dean Ambrose going to turn? What's he going to do? Has Dolph, Drew, and Strowman gotten into his head at all? Is he conflicted or whatever? So they wind up having the whole match. Baron Corbin eats a spear and a pin for I think like the second week in a row. And then after the match, Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre, and Braun Strowman, who were on the stage the whole time watching the match sitting in chairs, are now down in the aisleway, and they're trying to coax Dean Ambrose to join the dark side and come over with them. And he's standing in between them and the Shield, and he kind of looks at both of them and then winds up getting right in the ring and does the fist thing with Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, displaying that he is firmly behind the Shield and he has no intention of ever joining the other side. So now this adds a lot of speculation, a lot of intrigue, a lot of questions in our mind, because at Super Showdown, we're getting the big six-man. So if you are going to do a heel turn, that is where you think they would do it, to have Dean Ambrose turn on the Shield and all of that, but I don't see it happening. What I see this being more than anything else is WWE trying to add interest to the six-man match at Super Showdown. I mean, it's a pretty big match. I think it's going to be very good, but maybe WWE felt like it needed something else. So now with the fans questioning, oh, is Dean really going to be on the side of the Shield at Super Showdown, it just adds a little bit more interest to the match. So if I was to guess, that's what they're doing here. I don't think this is leading to an immediate Dean Ambrose heel turn. Like, I don't think he's going to turn heel at Super Showdown. I don't even know if he's going to turn heel at Survivor Series. I think the Dean Ambrose heel turn might come further down the line than that. Like I said, maybe when the fans have given up on it. So hopefully WWE can resist the urge to rush everything, because we've seen how they've done that so many times, especially with Kevin Owens quitting and then showing up 7 days later. I personally believe the longer you hold off the Dean Ambrose heel turn, the better. It just strengthens the Shield alliance even that much more, gives them that much longer of a run together, and then to have Dean turn when we're not expecting it would be a lot more fun. And also, given who the character of Dean Ambrose is, what I would like to see is I would like to see them do something at Super Showdown where you think he's going to turn. You know, maybe they're dropping some subtle hints. Maybe he's giving Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns a funny look during an interview if they say something, and they're trying to clue the fans in that, oh my God, Dean's going to turn. And then maybe he even does something in the match where he fools everybody and makes them think he's turned, but in reality, it's just a trick to fool Strowman and Ziggler and McIntyre or whatever, and he winds up being on the same side of the Shield the whole time. That sounds like something that Dean Ambrose would do. So I would like to see them really play with this, but not necessarily do the heel turn right away. So it remains to be seen what winds up happening there, but either way, I have faith in Dean. I think when they do inevitably and eventually make him a heel, he's going to make a great one, especially now with his new look and kind of his new appearance. I just think he looks a little bit more badass, a little bit less silly. I'm ready to see him be evil and take things to the next level. I'm just really in no rush to see it, that's all. Aside from that, on Monday Night Raw, Dolph and Drew were busy defending the tag team titles against the Revival. Now, this match turned out to be really good. I can't believe how good this turned out to be. I was really worried that Dolph and Drew were just going to annihilate the Revival, but they didn't. There was some near falls. Revival put up a really good fight here, and this was a really good match, and it was a competitive match, which I liked. And I have no problem with Dolph and Drew winning. Fine, great, they're the superior team. I'm happy that the Revival didn't get squashed, because the way they kind of got bounced out of their initial title match when Dolph and Drew just kicked their ass backstage and got the title shot in their place and won the belts, I was like, man, this makes the Revival feel very insignificant in WWE's eyes for them to treat them like that. But for them to go out there on Monday Night Raw and have a good competitive match for the titles, that makes me feel a whole hell of a lot better, and I think they can bounce back, and eventually they'll get a run with the belts one day. I just think the WWE wants the titles on these guys right now, considering everything going on with the Shield and the future potential title matches there, and I think the tag team titles will make their way back around the waists of a regular team, because Dolph and Drew I don't expect to be together forever either. Also on Monday Night Raw, what about Connor getting a victory over Chad Gable? Gable, of course, has been hanging around with Bobby Roode. He really wants to be glorious. He's fucking hilarious in this role, running around, bouncing around, all obsessed with Bobby Roode. He's kind of the focal point here, and I thought he was going to go out there and beat Connor rather handily, even though Connor's twice his size, because the Ascension hasn't won jack shit on Monday Night Raw in I don't know how many years, and Connor winds up having a decent little tiny match with Gable and beats him. What do you know? Connor wins a match, a singles match. So maybe, just maybe, this can be the beginning of something for Connor or the Ascension, because why would they give him a victory here if it wasn't going to really mean anything in the long run? Because he hasn't won anything in months, years. Maybe a match. Well, I know there's one match I think that the Ascension actually won on Monday Night Raw that I can think of. I don't remember when that happened now, but I know it was semi-recently. But aside from that, you guys got to fill me in on the Ascension's record, either in a tag or in a singles match on Monday Night Raw, because I know it ain't good. So kind of a surprising outcome there, and I hope that there's a meaning behind that, and we see more from Connor and the Ascension. I can't believe I'm fucking saying that. What about our friend Alicia Fox? She's fun, huh? She was out a couple of times on Monday Night Raw. The first time with Jinder Mahal, and Jinder Mahal wound up having a match with Finn Balor. He lost to Finn Balor when Sunil Singh got on the apron and kind of caused a distraction. Balor was able to roll up Jinder for the pin, and after the match, Jinder loses his mind and beats the shit out of Sunil Singh while Alicia Fox is talking shit to him at the same time. And I was thinking that, man, it would be cool if Jinder just got rid of those two guys and just went with Alicia. And we've seen Jinder Mahal beat the hell out of the Singh brothers before, but they always stick with him, and it looks like that's going to continue, because after the ass-kicking, Jinder and Alicia are sitting down there meditating, and they force Singh to sit there with them, and the group and the band, I guess, is back together again. But eventually, you know, I would like to see him just get rid of those two guys and just maybe stick with Alicia. The alliance, the pairing of the two is randomly fun, kind of like Gable and Bobby Roode. It's random, but it's good. Kind of like Lio Rush and Bobby Lashley. It's random, but it's good. And I kind of feel the same way about these two. So whenever the other Singh brother is healthy enough to get back in the ring, I don't know. I don't think they should be put back with Jinder Mahal. I think you should let them be a tag team or something. Put them on 205 Live, move them to SmackDown, do something with them. Just get them away from Jinder Mahal and let him roll with Alicia Fox. I think she's fucking amazing. She just cracks me up. And we would see her later on, too, when she would lose to Nia Jax. So Alicia Fox is just hilarious. I just love her in this role. She's kind of crazy. She's doing all sorts of different things on Monday Night Raw. Now we see her multiple times, and she's great, and everybody loves her. But you know what? She's not exactly the greatest worker. And I'm not going to really elaborate too much more on the Brie Bella situation from Monday Night Raw, because I did a whole video on it a couple of days ago, but we all know that she did kick Liv Morgan in the face. Liv Morgan has gotten a concussion from that, which I did not know at the time of my video release. But yeah, she did suffer a legit concussion, got knocked out. A lot of people were at fault here, including the referee, for not getting her out of the way and letting her continue the match and letting her continue that suplex spot. Was fucking crazy. So there's a lot of people to blame here. But basically my take on the whole thing was, yes, she was careless in there. Yes, she hurt somebody. Yes, she's had a lot of botches lately. But there's a difference between acknowledging that, yeah, she's made a couple of mistakes and going so over the top with it that she should be fired and fuck Brie Bella and she's a careless, sloppy, idiot worker that doesn't know what the fuck she's doing, all coming from a bunch of people who have never been in a ring, have never wrestled, never taken a bump, never been on the road, never done anything. You know, and I said in that episode that Brie Bella, it's not like she's totally incapable. She's not Kurt Angle, but she's been wrestling long enough to where she should be pretty safe in there. And unfortunately, in the last few weeks, she hasn't been. She's not only almost severely injured herself, now she's severely injured someone else. So I believe she deserves criticism, but as usual, the fans take it to such a new extreme to where it has to be complete hate, complete psychotic, entitled judgment on this girl. All of a sudden, she's a fucking loser. Basically, like what I said, thousands of people overnight somehow got the wrestling license and are now qualified to train wrestlers in a wrestling school at their house, because that's the way everybody's acting. And it's created a big debate on social media. We're now 3 or 4 days deep, and Brie Bella is still all over Twitter. And all you need to know about this debate is you just need to read the wrestlers' reactions compared to the fans' reactions. And I'm not talking about just wrestlers in WWE. So don't tell me that, oh, wrestlers are scared to criticize because it might cost them their job. Fuck that. I'm talking about across all of professional wrestling. Everywhere. Are wrestlers coming out of the woodwork to trash Brie Bella and say that she sucks and that she's clueless? No, because they know that botches happen. They know that they can botch things, and they understand being in the ring, things happen, and it just doesn't make any sense for them to come out and criticize her. Every single wrestler that I've seen speak on this subject is usually trying to educate a fan that's so fucking angry and can't put aside their psychotic dislike for Brie Bella. And if you don't have that same attitude, they think that you just don't get it. I've seen wrestling fans with 39 Twitter followers tell Goldust, a 30-year wrestling veteran, that he doesn't get it. Are you fucking kidding me? Do you hear yourselves? I mean, Jesus Christ. I've seen fans get into it with wrestlers who are really trying to be logical. They're trying to say, look, botches happen, accidents happen. We're not saying Brie Bella didn't screw up. But you fans have got to stop acting like you know who belongs in the ring and who doesn't. You're not an agent. You're not a trainer. You're not at the performance center. You're not a member of management. You're not a wrestler. You're not anything. And the fans prove that by how crazy they get because Brie Bella is on their shit list already. We are just days removed from that "we want talent" hashtag. So you got all that shit going on. And then you have Brie Bella botching. So naturally Twitter is going to explode. But when you look at somebody like Alicia Fox, just imagine that, if you will. Put Alicia Fox in that match instead of Brie Bella. Let's say it's Natalya, Nikki, and Alicia versus the Riot Squad. And let's say Alicia Fox kicks Liv Morgan in the face. Are we going to be calling for Alicia Fox's job tomorrow? Because Alicia Fox has been known to botch a thing or two herself. So let's say it was Alicia Fox doing that, where she fell twice on her head and then kicked Liv Morgan in the face. Are we going to be calling for her head the way we're calling for Brie Bella's head? No. You want to know why? Because we like Alicia Fox. And what it boils down to, always, with the fans, always, no matter how much they pretend to have the best interests of the business at heart, bull fucking shit. You don't. You like who you like, you don't like who you don't like, and for the people who you don't like, you try to pretend that, oh, it doesn't make sense for them to win, WWE's pushing the wrong people. You try to make it sound legit, when really you're just a fucking mark like the rest of us. So that's what I saw in this Brie Bella situation, and it's a classic example of what the fans always do. They take the tiny bit of their argument that's correct, and they bury it under stupid bullshit, and it makes themselves look worse than the people that actually made the fucking mistakes. So I found the whole thing ridiculous. I think the fans are over the top as usual because they're all fucking weirdos and pent up and frustrated and angry or something. I don't know what goes on in the minds of today's fans, but it doesn't seem healthy and it doesn't seem normal. And I worry what kind of lives they're going to lead with this emotional and social instability. It's extremely strange. So anyway, that's pretty much my parting shot on the Brie Bella situation. I haven't even read the comments in my Brie Bella video. I'm sure there's plenty of people that disagree with me and think I don't get it. And that, what else? I'm brainwashed or I'm tone deaf or some other stupid fucking nonsense just because I choose to try to look at both sides of things and try to think about things in a logical and intelligent way without flying off the rails, calling for somebody's job and head and that she's, incapable and all that when I've never been in the ring and taken a bump. Well, actually, that's a lie. I have. But been in the ring on a routine basis and being an actual wrestler and traveling on the road and taking bumps? No, I have not. None of us have. So stop your bitching. Aside from that, I guess we'll move on to SmackDown Live. There's really nothing else on Raw that's worth discussing. Bobby Lashley did defeat Elias via DQ in a one-on-one match. They had a Kevin Owens show first, where I guess his guest was supposed to be Elias, or maybe it was Lio Rush. I forgot what the hell went on there, but all parties were involved there, and Lio Rush did do a very entertaining job of avoiding Kevin Owens once again, which I love, because eventually, when Kevin Owens gets his hands on him, because what's going to happen, that's what they're building to, and it makes me think of when what's that rapper that's feuding with Eminem, when he picked him up and threw him off the stage or whatever. It kind of reminds me of that. If he ever gets his hands on Lio Rush, he's going to lawn dart him, Kevin Nash, Rey Mysterio style, into something. So that should be fun when that finally happens. Maybe it'll happen in Australia. SmackDown Live was pretty entertaining. I enjoyed it. I was actually off on Tuesday night. I was doing a lot of work around my house. I ordered like several $100s worth of shit off Amazon, and I was just kind of doing some home improvements in here. So I had SmackDown on the TV while I was doing stuff, so I was kind of just eyeballing it. But man, I found some really fun things on the show where I actually sat down and watched. And I sat down and watched the opening segment with Truth TV. R-Truth comes out there with Carmella to host Truth TV. And Daniel Bryan is going to be his special guest. Truth kind of does the Miz's intro. Welcome to the most must-see TV show or whatever the hell it is. Does that whole spiel. Brings Daniel Bryan out there. Daniel Bryan starts talking about the Miz. And in just a beautiful moment, R-Truth stops Daniel Bryan. And he's like, hold that thought. It's now time for our special Truth TV 7-second dance break. And the lights go off. And he starts dancing with Carmella. R-Truth is a goddamn fucking national treasure. He is entertaining as hell whenever WWE chooses to use him on TV. And he's an old man now. I mean, he's in his mid to late 40s. I almost wish WWE would have done more with him. You know, when he was having that short little run in 2011 against John Cena, I think that's when little Jimmy was born and shit like that. I just wish that he never would have kind of gone away. He had the run with The Miz. They wrestled The Rock and John Cena at Survivor Series. And then by the time we got into 2013 and 2014, I don't even know what the hell wound up happening to R-Truth. He's been there the whole time. He's just never been used. And I feel like he's an untapped resource because the guy is so fucking talented. I absolutely love him. So, Ron Killings, you are the man. The Miz is all pissed off that R-Truth has hijacked his show, and he winds up having a match, a one-on-one match with R-Truth to open the show with the show on the line. So the winner gets the show. So if R-Truth wins, it becomes Truth TV. If the Miz wins, it remains Miz TV. And Daniel Bryan stuck around to do commentary, guest commentary for that match, and the Miz wound up winning. He won with Daniel Bryan's finisher. He hit R-Truth with the running knees for the pin. So Miz TV remains on the air. Unfortunately, I would have loved if R-Truth would have won the match and we would have gotten Truth TV, because I seriously could watch a Truth TV segment every week. I would thoroughly enjoy 7-second dance breaks. I would even probably join along with them in the privacy of my own home. There's a visual for you. Good mic work dancing. Holy shit. But all in all, good stuff. Very entertaining stuff there with R-Truth and The Miz, and I loved it. And it also furthered the situation between Daniel Bryan and The Miz. And of course, their one-on-one match at Super Showdown next weekend will determine who faces AJ Styles or Samoa Joe for the title on an upcoming show, which I believe is probably going to be SmackDown 1000, but that has not been confirmed, I don't think. Becky Lynch also had a very entertaining segment on SmackDown, and I loved it. She attacked Charlotte during a photo shoot. Charlotte's taking some pictures with a whole camera crew. Becky Lynch shows up out of nowhere, beats the hell out of Charlotte in front of all the cameramen, and then asks the cameramen to take a picture of her standing on Charlotte's beaten up body on the ground. I fucking love that. But it also kind of had shades of Stone Cold, because everybody has been comparing Becky Lynch to Stone Cold. Stone Cold Becky Lynch. And I swear they're taking a few things, they're taking a few tiny elements of that early Steve Austin and weaving it into Becky's character. And this was one of them. Remember back when Austin was doing a backstage interview with Vince McMahon? This would have been like 1996, maybe around, or maybe it was 97. Pretty sure it was 96. I don't fucking remember. It was either late 96, early 97. And he's talking to Vince McMahon, who's on commentary, and he winds up getting pissed off. Austin winds up getting pissed off, that is, in the studio, because he's got a cameraman counting him down. And he goes, "You can stop counting me down." And he grabs the guy and kicks his ass and throws him into a ladder. It kind of reminded me of that. It's not the same thing. Becky was in a photo shoot, and this was just a backstage interview, but that whole kind of feel of it with the ladder falling over and the big camera light falling over just kind of reminded me of that a little bit. And I hope that WWE is taking just a few subtle elements of Austin's character and incorporating that into Becky Lynch. I thought that was cool. Becky Lynch also had a match on SmackDown as well, where she pretty much squashed Lana in a very short match and tapped Lana out pretty quickly. And speaking of Lana, holy shit, Rusev was cutting a promo on SmackDown. He came out to the ring. He's pissed off because Aiden English not only turned on him last week, but Aiden English had the gall to turn on Rusev Day. Just rubbing salt in the wound. And that's pretty fucked up. So Rusev has every reason to be pissed off. Aiden English winds up coming out on the apron, or I'm sorry, on the stage to cut a promo. And he says that he doesn't trust Lana and that she's very toxic and she's the reason why the group didn't last and had to break up. She's basically the Yoko of the group. And then he closes his promo by telling Rusev, "Why don't you ask your wife what happened in Milwaukee?" And then walks away. Later on in the show, I guess they would say that next week on SmackDown, Aiden English is supposedly going to provide some video evidence or proof or footage of whatever he's talking about taking place in Milwaukee. So you guys, my little researchers, you're going to have to do the work here. The only reason why I would think that he would say Milwaukee is for a reason. Why the fuck Milwaukee? Of all cities, for you to get into some hanky-panky, fucking Milwaukee is where you pick? What about Vegas? Come on. So there's got to be a reason why Milwaukee. So what's the past schedule of WWE? When was the last time they were in Milwaukee? What was the show? Did Aiden English have a match there? There's got to be a reason why they said Milwaukee. Was there a WWE pay-per-view in Milwaukee recently? I don't even know. I have no fucking memory when it comes to shit like that. So you guys are going to have to kind of dig into that and see if you guys can figure out what the hell Aiden English is talking about. It seems obvious that he's hinting towards some sort of an affair between him and Lana. I almost don't think that would even be the case. That's what a lot of fans, I'm sure, are speculating on is, he fucked Lana in Milwaukee. So Rusev's going to find out now and be heartbroken or pissed or whatever. Maybe Lana's even going to turn and join up with Aiden English or whatever. But my instinct says no. My instinct is whatever he's talking about in Milwaukee is maybe just a ploy or bullshit or never even happened to begin with, just a way to get into Rusev's head and attack him again and set up their singles feud or singles match or whenever the hell that's going to take place. So I don't know if Milwaukee's really even going to be anything, but it sure was funny when he said that. I was like, Milwaukee? So nothing against Milwaukee. I've got family in Milwaukee. It's just, it's not a place where I'm thinking, yeah, you know what? I need some action. What I need is a really fun weekend in Milwaukee. No. So very curious to see what the significance of Milwaukee is and what it winds up leading to next week on SmackDown. We had the furthering of the tag team situation between the New Day and the Bar. They, of course, have their big tag team match coming up at Super Showdown. They've been doing the same thing that all tag team feuds do. You know, one week you have a singles match between two team members, and then the next week you do another one. So this week it was Sheamus versus Big E. One thing that caught my attention, I remember I was in the other room, and I hear Big E talking to Sheamus, and he says something about the carpet matching the drapes. And I immediately start laughing, and I'm like, did I fucking hear that right? Did I hear on a 2018 PG version of Monday Night Raw? If any character, if any wrestler can get away with saying something like that, Big E probably could. The people in the back probably didn't even know what the fuck he was talking about. So Big E, much like R-Truth, much like Alicia Fox, you guys are just bona fide Hall of Famers, and I fucking love you. But Sheamus wound up winning with the bro kick, so we'll see what they do next week on SmackDown on the Go Home show, setting up their big tag match at Super Showdown. And right now, I don't know who's really going to win. I felt like they put the belts back on the New Day because of the injury to Eric Rowan, so I thought the New Day could pretty much be transitional champions, but it's starting to look like that might not be the case. They might go on to retain here and have another long run with the titles. In another kind of interesting segment on SmackDown, we had Ty Dillinger taking on Shinsuke Nakamura. And during the match, Randy Orton hits the ring and for no apparent reason just starts beating the shit out of Ty Dillinger. Hits him with the DDT thing on the floor. After that, Shinsuke Nakamura actually hit the Kinshasa on Ty Dillinger into the LED apron, which was fucking gnarly. But for some reason, Randy Orton's just got it out for Ty Dillinger. After the commercial break, I believe they caught Randy Orton backstage and asked him why he did what he did. And his response was, I just don't like that perfect 10 stuff. It pisses me off. So he just went out there and beat the shit out of Dillinger for no reason. I saw that on SmackDown and I went to Twitter and I asked you guys, I'm like, am I seeing this right? Is this the beginning of an actual feud or is he just randomly attacking Dillinger? Some of you thought it was the beginning of a feud, but I found that really hard to believe. I'm like, there's no way. I would love for Ty Dillinger to get more opportunities on SmackDown, but you gotta, once you've, demoted him to the level that he's on where he's barely on the show, he's doing dark matches, kickoff matches, if that, now you're just going to automatically throw him into a feud with Randy Orton. You kind of got to build to that a little bit. So maybe this is the beginning of that build, but I really don't see it happening. I don't see Ty Dillinger feuding with Randy Orton. I think this has got to be something else where maybe Randy Orton is attacking random guys on SmackDown in the next few weeks until he attacks the wrong dude. It could potentially also lead to another Randy Orton and Shinsuke Nakamura program. Maybe Shinsuke is on the road back to being a babyface, which would be fine, and he takes on heel Orton for the U.S. title. That's possible. I really don't know where they're going here, but I really didn't see a one-on-one feud between Ty Dillinger and Randy Orton. Seems like at this point in time wouldn't make any sense, but hey, maybe I'm wrong. I guess we'll find out more next week. And the final thing I want to talk about is the marvelous main event segment, supposed to be a contract signing between AJ Styles and Samoa Joe for their match at Super Showdown, which apparently now is a no disqualification match, no count out match, so they can do whatever they want. And we knew there was going to be some sort of a stipulation there. So no DQ it is. AJ is in the ring with Paige, and when they announce Samoa Joe, he doesn't come out. And then they go to the screen, they go to the big Tron, and Samoa Joe is standing outside AJ Styles' house. I love this. And this was kind of almost predictable. You knew they were going in this direction because having wrestlers show up at houses isn't rare. They did it with Triple H and Randy Orton. They did it years ago with Stone Cold and Brian Pillman when Pillman had the gun and the whole gun incident on Raw, which was very controversial. So the fact that Joe did this, I was not surprised. I actually thought this in my head a few weeks ago when the wife starts getting involved in the Wendy, and then he calls her on the phone. Next logical step, show up at her house. AJ is in the ring, and Samoa Joe is outside the Styles family home, which is so ridiculous. The dumbest part was the mailbox with the big letter Styles across the mailbox. I don't even know if that was AJ's real house, but if I was him, I wouldn't be putting my last name all over my mailbox. He had the white picket fence and everything, so I don't know if this was a stunt house or if it was a working house or if it was a shoot house. Not sure what was going on there, but it was really funny stuff and really good stuff because you really see that sadistic, vile side of Samoa Joe, and it's why he's so great. It's why he's such a great heel. And the more and more I think about it, I'm almost thinking that AJ Styles is going to hold this title for the rest of the year, but man, I would hate to waste and miss this opportunity on Samoa Joe. So for once, or not for once, but like most times with WWE title matches, I truly don't even care. I'm going to be happy here either way. If they put the title on Samoa Joe, great, awesome. He's going to be an awesome fucking heel. If AJ keeps it, wonderful. He can hold the belt for a year and year plus, maybe even surpass the run that CM Punk had a few years ago, maybe drop it at the Royal Rumble, marking the end of one of the more impressive WWE title runs in company history. So either way here, I'm going to be a happy guy, but I really like what they're doing in the feud. I think back to the AJ and Nakamura feud and how it just didn't have this, because Nakamura can't really cut the type of promos that Samoa Joe can, and they just they had to do the whole nut-shotting thing to add dimensions to the feud, where this is so much better, with it getting personal and AJ's family getting involved, and now AJ is like freaking out because the show goes off the air with Samoa Joe ringing the doorbell, and then it fades to black. I mean, that's great stuff. So we don't know what the hell went on there. We don't know if Samoa Joe got in the house. I mean, technically it's a home invasion. Samoa Joe can go to jail for this, but at the same time, we've seen attempted murders time and time again on TV. So what's a little home invasion? Simple little B&E, no big deal. So I'm sure we'll see Samoa Joe on SmackDown next week. And I'll tell you what, if Wendy winds up pregnant in this, Samoa Joe might also be accused of rape. Let's hope not. But what I think might happen now is, I mentioned this on Twitter as well, the match at Super Showdown is now a no disqualification match. You got to think that in storyline, AJ has got to be so enraged that this motherfucker went to his house. And I asked on Twitter, I asked you guys, what's Gallows and Anderson up to these days? I haven't even seen them on TV in I don't know how long. I don't know what's going on. I don't even know if one of them's injured or not. Who knows? But I think it would be cool if they got involved in this match somehow. Because AJ, forget being a babyface at this point, there would be nothing wrong with him cheating in this match. Because let me tell you, if somebody goes to your house when you're not there and they break in and they threaten and confront your wife and your children, you're going to go get some of your boys to come help you fuck this guy up. Am I right? So I think AJ could have some backup, just kind of waiting in the wings. And then during the match with Samoa Joe, they hit the ring and the three of them just beat the fuck out of him. I mean, just viciously beat him up like they are the heels. Like, that's how vicious they're being. I think that would keep AJ as big a babyface as ever because you could feel it. You could understand it. Yeah, his family was threatened. This guy showed up at his house. He's going to make damn sure that never happens again. So I would love it, since it's no DQ, for Gallows and Anderson to show up. The three of them beat the crap out of Samoa Joe, and AJ Styles pin Samoa Joe with a boot on his face. Imagine that revenge. Samoa Joe just completely demolished in the middle of the ring. AJ Styles puts the bottom of his boot right on his face, and the referee counts 1, 2, 3. While Gallows and Anderson stand there like bookends with their arms crossed. I think that would be awesome. I don't think it's going to happen, but you would think logically that might be a direction AJ would go. It might drive him to that said, no matter what, not only are you not going to take my title and win this match, but I'm going to make sure you never fucking come after me again. So anyway, that's the way I would kind of book it if this was a real life situation. But It's not. It's WWE. And who knows what they're going to do there. Maybe Samoa Joe winds up winning the title. And if he does, I'd be perfectly fine with that too. So those are pretty much your key points there on Raw and SmackDown. Those are really the only things I wanted to talk about. Aside from that, there have been a few more rumblings about Shawn Michaels. We know he's going to be in Triple H's corner. Triple H, by the way, and Stephanie were on Monday Night Raw. They were there to do some Connor's Cure stuff. Stephanie was also interacting with Baron Corbin, treating him like a fucking piece of dirt. And then when they were leaving, Charlie Caruso interviewed Triple H about his match with The Undertaker at Super Showdown, and he said a few words about that. But we all know it's going to be Triple H and The Undertaker at Super Showdown with Shawn Michaels in Triple H's corner and Kane in The Undertaker's corner. And that all but confirms the rumored tag team match in Saudi Arabia at the Crown Jewel event, Shawn Michaels and Triple H versus the Brothers of Destruction. And once that became apparent that that's what they're going to do, I was the first one saying, man, there's so much they could do now with Shawn and The Undertaker. Because Shawn is not going to come back for one tag team match in Saudi Arabia. There's no fucking way. I cannot believe how many of you disagree with me on that. I've had several tweets and I've had several comments in the YouTube videos saying it's just going to be a one-match deal. How the fuck do you know? Where are you getting your information? You mean to tell me that if Shawn Michaels is going to void his retirement and come back for a match, it's going to be on a network special in a tag team match on Mars? No, come on. If he's coming back, he's going to come back for another match, maybe even 2 or 3. It's not going to be a long run. He's not going to be hitting the road on the house show loop. He's not going to be on Raw every single week having matches. He's just going to come back for a few big pay-per-view matches, a few big paydays. And I had laid out a few scenarios for Shawn, one of them being another one-on-one match with The Undertaker. And I would be perfectly fine if they wrestled again at WrestleMania 35. It's certainly not going to be as good of a match as they had 10 years ago, but to have that match happen and it be a retirement match would be incredible. I mean, think about it. The first 2 guys in history to retire each other, Taker did it to Shawn, and then he comes back and does it to Taker. That's pretty cool. And now there's even some rumblings about a potential Survivor Series match. And one of those matches is Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker. That's another match that I pitched right when Shawn was rumored to return. I was like, hell, maybe they could do the match in LA. I'm going to be there. I mean, for my first show since 2005, and I get to come back to a WWE event and I get to see Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker, holy crap, I'm going to cream in my pants. This is incredible. So Shawn Michaels coming back in Saudi Arabia, I think all but guarantees he's going to be back for at least 1 or 2 matches. Maybe one at Survivor Series. It is in LA. It's in a big market. Maybe again at the Royal Rumble, which is going to be a big outdoor show. And then, of course, WrestleMania. So it might be kind of like a 4 pay-per-view thing here where it's Crown Jewel, Survivor, Rumble, and Mania. And he can work with a few guys. Hell, we can finally get that Shawn Michaels and AJ Styles match now. If they want to do that, what if Shawn Michaels challenges AJ Styles for the title at Survivor Series or at the Royal Rumble? That match was rumored in San Antonio a couple of years ago. So now it seems like that it's all but confirmed that Shawn is coming back because of the massive payday that he's going to get. Because of all the money in the Saudi Arabia deal, WWE is definitely throwing close to $1 million at Shawn to do this match. And if he gets close to that payday for 2 more matches, you're talking about $3 million in a 6-month span of time. So why would you not do that if you're Shawn Michaels? So as much as I would love to see Shawn Michaels stay true to the retirement, I understand completely. Trust me, I don't hold any ill will towards Shawn Michaels. If it was up to me, I'm perfectly fine never seeing Shawn Michaels wrestle again. I got to witness and watch his whole career. I don't need any more. But if he wants to come back, and make some waves and make a payday and have a pretty incredible and pretty memorable and history-making match or matches with The Undertaker and others, hey, who am I to say it's the wrong thing to do? So Shawn Michaels, you have my blessing. Do whatever you want. And I'm excited at the prospect of actually seeing you again. Even when I don't want to see these guys, I still get very happy when they come back. Every year at WrestleMania, I'm like, God, I can't believe The Undertaker's wrestling. But when he makes that WrestleMania entrance, I'm cutting onions. So Shawn Michaels, welcome, most likely back to in-ring competition. Can't wait to see what you can do at age 53. Also rumored for Saudi Arabia is Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan apparently was requested by that idiot Prince that thinks Yokozuna and the Ultimate Warrior are still alive. Apparently Hogan was one of the names mentioned the last time, but he was still in the doghouse with WWE, so they didn't bring him. But now he's been welcomed back. He's been reinstated into the Hall of Fame. He did his really stupid, uncomfortable speech at Extreme Rules a few months ago, and it seems likely that he will be making the trip as well over to Saudi Arabia. So if you combine Hogan, Shawn getting back in the ring, this big World Cup thing that they're doing, which is kind of new and interesting, and I'm somewhat intrigued by it. I'm actually excited to see what this World Cup concept is all about. This might actually be a pretty good show in Saudi Arabia. I hope that it is. But we got to get through Super Showdown first, and that's coming up next weekend. And catch me about a week from now for my predictions on that event. And then my plan is to watch the entire event and live tweet in the middle of the night. It airs at 2 a.m. for me. It comes on at 2 o'clock in the morning. So I plan on staying up and watching the whole thing. I'm not going to live stream it because I'll be too tired, but I'm going to be watching it, probably laying in bed watching it, and then I'll fall asleep at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'll wake up, a few hours later, and I'll bust out a review on it and upload it to YouTube, hopefully around 12 hours after the pay-per-view goes off the air. That's my hope. So keep that in mind for next weekend during Super Showdown. And before I get out of here, some of you have asked me to comment on the Mae Young Classic. I've only seen a little bit of it. I think the only first round match I saw was Rachel Ellering's match against Hiroyo Matsumoto. And I've always liked Rachel Evers. She's Paul Ellering's daughter. I remember when I stumbled across her a few years ago now, on social media, I saw that she was training. I wasn't even aware that Ellering had a daughter, much less that she was getting into the wrestling business. And she was being trained by Lance Storm. And I always just kind of kept my eye on her. I was just curious how she was going to do, and I really wanted her to succeed well. Good to see her getting some rub there, and she's getting better and better each year. So I think she still has a long way to go, but she's just one of those women that I, for some reason, am really, really rooting for. So I checked out her match, and I saw a couple of other highlights, but for the most part, I haven't taken too good of a look at the Mae Young Classic. And I remember last year, I didn't really get into it until around the second round anyway. I think that's when I finally started watching matches in their entirety. So I will do my best to see a little bit more of that this week. And if there's any specific match or specific moment that I absolutely must take a look at, please shoot me a tweet over on Twitter at GoodMicWork and let me know, and I'll be happy to take a look at it. So I think that's going to be it. I'm not really going to discuss any more. That should wrap it up for this week. Like I said, tune in this Monday night to the YouTube channel. I'll be up here with brand new live Raw watch along. We'll hang out and watch the show together, and it's the go home show to Super Showdown. So hopefully we see some good stuff. And then, like I said, a lot of videos next week with the This Day in History on October 3rd, and my Super Showdown predictions coming up the very next day. So a lot going on. You guys have a good rest of your day and have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you on Monday night. Until then, peace.